Morning, everyone. My name's Leslie, and I'll be teaching yoga today for Toivo. Always an exciting opportunity for me, and I'm thankful for everyone who decides to join in and watch. So it's 10 o'clock. We will jump right in and get started. So everyone can start by coming to a seated position on your mat or laying down. Just get comfortable for a few moments. Here, once we found a comfortable position and gotten whatever cushions or blankets we might need, we'll start to slow the breath down. Taking longer inhales and exhales. And noticing where we're filling up with air, where we're releasing air. And see if we can bring our hands to those spots, wherever they might be on our bodies. And we'll take bigger and bigger breaths in. We'll start to expand the area we're breathing into and breathing out of. Just checking in with every area of our body and what we're thinking about today, what we're walking around with today, what we're sitting on our mats with today. And just taking a few moments to get into a peaceful headspace practice. Now I'm going to invite everyone to form a wish towards yourself for happiness, health, and strength. Extending a wish for those things towards yourself. Take a breath in and exhale. Just taking a moment to be with that feeling. And next we'll take a moment to think of someone who we like. Could be a friend or a partner or a pet, child. Somebody who we have feelings of fondness towards. And we'll take a minute to wish them that same wish for happiness, health, and strength. You don't have to stick with that phrase. You can pick any phrase you like. Any wish that you want to wish upon yourself and this other person. We'll take this next moment to take a breath in and out. And to just be with that feeling of extending positivity towards someone else. Now we'll think of a person who is sort of neutral. You don't really have strong feelings one way or the other for them. So maybe someone that you see on the bus or at the grocery store, or someone who delivers your mail, an Uber driver that you remember. We'll bring that person to mind and extend that same wish for happiness, health, and strength towards a neutral person in our lives. take a breath in and out, being with that feeling. Next we'll think of, the next person we'll think of is someone who really annoys us or makes us mad, irritated, don't see eye to eye, always butting heads, maybe argue a lot. Someone it would be challenging to extend a positive wish towards. So think of that person, and again, this should be an easy activity to do. It shouldn't be super hard. So don't spend too much time thinking of a phrase to extend to the person, and don't spend too much time thinking of a person. So whatever allows you to do that, thinking of a phrase that you can say quickly and easily without too much internal struggle. So again, thinking of a person who really is challenging to extend positivity towards, we're going to send them the wish for happiness, health, and strength. So take a breath in and a breath out, just embracing what it feels like to extend that wish. Letting go of any previous intentions you were thinking of. The next person will extend that wish for happiness, health, and strength to is everyone, all beings, all creatures, everywhere, seen and unseen, no exceptions. Wishing them happiness, health, and strength. So maybe you start with your household, wishing everyone there happiness, health, and strength. Moving down your block or out into your neighborhood, further and further. Wishing all beings happiness, health, and strength. And just taking a few more moments, letting go of that activity and whatever it might have brought up. Moving on. Taking a few breaths in and out, and just noticing what we feel like after doing that. Anything new came up. Maybe you don't feel different, maybe you do. Just noticing. Start to open our eyes, we start to sit up, if you're not already sitting up. We'll bring our hands out next to us on the floor and the legs long out in front of us. And we'll start to really sink the weight of our hips down into the mat, and our hands will start to press down. There can be a bend in your elbows or in your knees for now. And the fingers and toes will start to flex. Toes will be reaching back towards the body. And the upper body will be lifting up towards the sky. So we're still breathing here, and slowly we're creating enough strength that a little bit of tension in our body, and if you were to press into the hands, down into the floor, feel almost like you could lift yourself up off the mat. So straight legs, straight back. Going tall on the spine. Take one more big inhale here. And on the exhale, releasing the hands, hugging the left knee in towards the stomach. Take an inhale, again sitting up nice and tall. And on the exhale, we'll slowly turn the torso towards the left leg. And And taking a few breaths here, relaxing. And on the next inhale, turning back towards the center. And on the next exhale, twisting the body towards the right. Moving slowly at first, only twisting as far as what is comfortable. On your next inhale, turning back towards the center and switching legs. So on the left leg to go long out on the floor, and hugging in the right leg. Sitting up nice and tall, taking a breath in, we'll turn towards that leg on our exhale. Taking a few breaths here, relaxing the back, the hips, the arms, shoulders. On the next inhale, we'll turn back towards the center. And on the next exhale, we'll turn away from that leg. Taking a few breaths here. And eventually moving back towards center. From here, lowering down onto our backs. So keeping a bend in the knees and keeping the feet flat on the floor. We'll send the left leg up towards the sky. So you can keep a bend in that leg, you can use your hands to support it. And we'll just start to make circles with the ankles, going in one direction, going in the other direction. Eventually, we'll start to slow that motion down. We'll begin pointing and flexing the feet. Any other motion with the toes or the ankle or anything else in the foot that would feel good. And then just allowing that leg to bend. And now taking circles out of the left hip. So the leg can be more straight or more bent. We're just allowing the leg to come down towards the ground and back around. Making some circles. And going in both directions. Eventually slowing that leg down, bringing it back towards the ground. Working with the opposite leg. Sending the right foot into the air, circling the ankle, wiggling the toes, bending and flexing the foot, and any other motion that might feel nice in the foot. And in both directions, might be harder to go in one direction than the other. Eventually, bending that leg and keeping it straight if that works better. And creating some circles out of the right hip. Allowing the knee to drop down and around. And going in both directions. eventually finding stillness. Keeping the feet flat on the ground. We'll press the feet into the earth and we'll press the hands into the earth. We'll take an inhale and we'll lift just the hips off of the ground at first. Sending them up towards the ceiling. And we'll exhale, bring the hips back down. And we'll do that again. Inhaling, bringing the hips up off the earth. We'll exhale, dropping them back down. We'll continue with this motion. Each time we'll come up a little higher. Rather than pressing the hands into the ground, it might feel good to reach them up overhead as the hips come up and let them drop back down as the hips drop down. And on your next inhale, you'll come up as high as you can comfortably come up. You'll hold here. If you're in a wheel pose and you want to press yourself all the way up into wheel pose, and it's a good opportunity to do that. If you want to reach underneath and interlace your hands under your spine, under your back. On the exhale, we'll allow the back to come down slowly. Upper back, middle back, and then lower back. Take an inhale, with both feet up off of the ground. The arms can be out straight to either side, and on the exhale, the legs will drop over to the left. The head will drop over to the right. And we'll relax here for a few breaths. Noticing any muscles that might feel like they're holding on really tightly. And we'll take the legs back to the center. With the knees bent and the feet off the floor again. And we'll drop the legs over to the opposite side. We'll drop the head over to the opposite side. And we'll roll the whole body over onto one side. We'll take a moment in the fetal position before coming up into table pose. So take your time, moving slowly. Gently rolling yourself over. Once you're in table pose, making sure that your hands are lined up underneath your shoulders and your knees are lined up underneath your hips. And we'll come into cat and cow pose. So, inhaling, lifting the head, lifting the tailbone, letting the stomach drop towards the earth. And then we exhale, pulling the belly button in towards the spine, and letting the head and the tailbone drop. Inhaling, lifting the head, pressing the hands and the feet into the ground, exhaling, hollowing out the stomach. And you can continue going slowly or going quicker if it's more comfortable. And maybe eventually moving into other motions with the spine. Maybe we send the hips back and around in a circular motion. And going in both directions if you take this motion. Anything else that is easily accessible from table pose that would help to wake up your spine before we slow down and come to a stop. And from here, we'll take the right hand and we'll move it towards the middle of our body. The left hand will come up off of the mat, over the head. On the exhale, we'll drop it back down. Inhaling, bringing it up again, reaching towards the sky. Exhaling, dropping it back down. One last time, reaching all the way up with the left arm, pressing into the right arm. And this time when we exhale, as the hand drops, threading it underneath the right arm. And maybe coming all the way down, putting a bend in the right elbow. And coming all the way down into the left shoulder, the side of the head. And pressing into the right hand. Bring that left arm back out. We'll take that same motion on the right side. Moving the left hand towards the middle of the mat. Pressing into the left hand. Reaching up with the right hand. Exhaling. Hand comes back towards the ground. Inhaling. Pressing into the left hand. Reaching out through the right hand. Exhaling. Coming back down. And inhaling, reaching all the way up with the right hand one last time. And let me exhale, bringing that right hand down and through, under the left arm, and bringing the right shoulder towards the mat. We'll press into the left hand and bring that arm back out. And from here, we'll let the hips drop back and the chest draw forward. Child's pose. Knees apart, toes together. And we'll take a few breaths in and out. filling up with air completely and emptying completely. From child's pose, we take both hands, walking them over to the left side of the mat, and stretching out on the right side of the rib cage. And then walking the hands over to the left side of the mat, stretching out the right side of the rib cage. Walking the hands back to the center. Eventually, we'll come back into table pose. We'll press the hands into the mat, and we'll reach the left leg out behind us. So toes can be off the mat, or toes can be on the mat. We'll start to make circles with the left ankle, or point and flex the left foot. If your foot is off the ground, you can make circles or point and flex. If your foot is on the ground, you can sort of move back and forth. Maybe put a bend in your elbows. Just find some motion in the ankle and in the muscles in the back of the leg. And eventually coming to stillness. We'll send the left leg, reach it out long behind us, reaching out through the head, reaching out through the left toes, and we'll send it over the right leg. The left leg is crossing over top of the right. The front half of the body is just maintaining its integrity. If you're leaning over to one side, paying attention to things like that. Pressing out through that back heel. And on the next inhale, lifting up the left foot again, bringing it out to the left this time. And from here, we'll take our hands, walking them over to our right. And from here, we'll come into a variation of side plank. And the knee is down. Might also feel good to try and lift one leg. I think you can lift both legs. It might feel good to try some sort of something that's challenging to your balance today. Maybe you come into a full side plank or something similar. But wherever you are, finding some integrity, finding some strength in the fingers and in the toes. Really exhale. Bring the hand down, bringing the foot down if it's up. And bring your way all the way back to a neutral table pose. And setting up for the same thing on the opposite side. So sending the right leg back. Maybe it's up, maybe the toes are on the ground. And we're just finding some motion in the ankle, in the toes. Take that leg up off the mat, we'll cross it over the left leg. And we'll check in with the hands, with the shoulders, with the upper body, keeping the integrity there. Pressing out through the right heel. And inhale. We'll send the right leg out to our right. We'll walk the hands out to the left. So from here, your body will be in some variation of side plank on the other side. And maybe play around with some sort of balance challenge in this position. Using the fingertips to hold you up, getting a lot of strength in that top hand, pressing into the bottom hand. And eventually, bringing the hand back down, bringing the right leg back down, finding table pose again. And from here, pressing yourself up into plank pose. So coming up onto the toes, and keeping a flat back. Knees can be down for this. But we want to keep a flat back, and we want to start to draw the belly button and the low belly in towards the spine. So a lot of work in our core and plank pose. Pressing into the fingertips, pressing into the toes, sending the head forward, and putting a teeny tiny bend in the elbows. We'll start to press ourselves back into downward facing dog. So again, there can be a big bend in the knees, there can be a bend in the elbows, and we'll start to find some motion in our feet in downward dog. So straightening one leg, straightening the other leg. Maybe you shake your head back and forth slowly. Eventually finding stillness. Taking a few deep breaths. And looking down at the hands, we'll start to put a bend in the knees and walk the feet towards the hands. And we'll come into a forward fold. So your hands can be on the ground, on your hips, on opposite elbows. Maybe they're even interlaced behind your back. Letting the neck relax, letting the shoulders go. We'll eventually bring the hands to the hips. We'll find a flat back, parallel with the ground. Take an inhale, and we'll slowly come all the way up. And just taking a moment to find some stability once you get there, since we were upside down almost for a long time. And bring the feet about shoulder distance apart. We'll take an inhale, put a bend in the knees, sweep the arms all the way up, and on the exhale, we'll fold forward. Inhale in, coming to a flat back, parallel with the ground. Exhale, forward fold. And on the next inhale, coming all the way up, reaching the arms up and the hands come back down to meet in front of the heart. We'll do a few more of those. So inhaling, arms go up. Exhaling, forward fold. Inhale, flat back. Exhale, fold. Inhale, arms come all the way up. And exhale, hands come in front of the heart. We'll do one last one. Inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale, inhale, and exhale. And from here, we'll find ourselves back in downward dog. Pressing into the hands, pressing into the feet. Letting the head hang. And sending the hips up and back. We'll take the left foot up off the mat. Doesn't need to come all the way up. But we're just going nice and long through that left leg. And we'll bring that leg all the way towards the front of the mat. And then we'll bring the right knee down. Put a bend in both knees. Coming into a lunge position. Over the front knee. You can bring the hands to the hips or into prayer or any location that might feel nice in this position. And we'll take an inhale. On the exhale, we'll turn towards the left knee. We'll inhale, we'll come back to the center. And then the exhale, we'll turn away from the left leg. Take an inhale, we'll come back to that center. And from here, we'll find our way into Warrior One with the left leg bent. So maybe you use that knee to help you up. And keeping a bend in the left knee. We'll take the arms up, we'll start to lift the chest. We'll send that left leg back. We'll take an inhale here. Then exhale, we'll come into Warrior Two, the left knee bent. We'll take another inhale. We'll reverse the warrior pose, warrior pose. And on the exhale, left elbow comes to left knee for extended warrior. We'll come back to Warrior Two. And we'll straighten the left knee. We'll find some motion in the hips. So sending the hips over towards the right leg. The arms out to the side. We'll allow the left-handed drop down towards the left leg. And we're not pressing into the left leg. We're lifting up with the right hand. Eventually, allowing my hand to drop. Holding over that left leg. Breath in, breath out. And eventually finding your way back into downward dog. Maybe moving through the lunge pose first. Taking a few breaths in and out here. Well, this time we'll lift the left leg off the mat, reaching out through that right leg. And bringing the right foot in between the hands. And coming into a lunge position. And pressing ourselves up nice and tall. We'll Take an inhale here, adjusting the feet and the knees however you may need to support yourself. And we'll turn towards the right leg. Eventually coming back towards the center and turning away from the right leg. We'll come back to the center and we'll find the best way to get into Warrior One with the right leg bent. Finding some stability in the legs, making sure we feel nice and strong in the feet before doing anything. We'll take an inhale, and on the exhale we'll come into Warrior Two. Inhaling, reverse warrior. Exhaling, extended warrior. Coming back up, straightening the right leg, finding motion in the hips, and eventually landing in triangle pose. Reaching the left arm up, reaching the right arm down, and eventually coming down to fold over the right leg. And finding a way back through that lunge, pivoting the feet whenever we need to. And eventually back into downward facing dog. Hips are reaching up and back. And we're pressing into fingers and toes. And we'll eventually bring the knees down here, coming into child's pose. Toes together, knees apart, and the torso relaxes onto the thighs. Comes towards the mat. Breath in, breath out. From here, we'll find our way into lizard pose. So you may want to start in table pose or downward dog. So we'll walk both hands over to the right side of the mat, and we'll bring the left leg up to meet with the hands, so to be parallel with the hands. So for some people, we'll be able to almost come into a pigeon pose and come all the way down onto the forearms or extend the back leg. But it's perfectly fine to be in any sort of orientation in this pose, so it's fine if that front leg starts to drop out. We really just want to be able to drop down into the hips and stretch out those muscles. The appearance of the pose might be different every day or every time you try it, and for every person. And we'll eventually bring ourselves back to table pose or downward facing dog. And we'll set up for that same pose on the opposite side. So walking both hands to the left of the mat and bringing the right foot forward. Just noticing what we might be feeling in our back, our hips, our shoulders, and sticking with it. Just for one more breath. And we'll come back into downward facing dog, stretching out the legs. Eventually come down to sit on the heels, or you have the option to stand on the knees. If you do that, you may want a cushion under the knees. And from here, we'll take the hands to the hips, and we want our first four fingers on the hips and the thumb sort of on the low back. So search around with your thumbs and just sort of finding spots where you can keep your thumbs symmetrical, so even with each other and in the same spot, and apply gentle pressure. So what we're really going for here is our sacrum. So if you're unfamiliar with that term, you can just simply find somewhere in your low back where your thumbs feel at home and they feel good. And you can apply gentle pressure or pull them in a downward direction. And we still want to be sitting up nice and tall, lifting our chest, lifting our head. So the top half of the body is going up, bottom half of the body is going down. And once you can find a nice spot where your hands feel like they fit, we'll start to move the elbows in towards each other. And if it feels good in your back today, you can start to come into more of a back bend. You can do this sitting on your heels. You can do it standing. If you want even more of a back bend, you can start to take the hands even all the way down to the feet or the ankles. All of the options are plenty of work. And wherever you are in this pose, we'll move one hand, both hands. Come to sit on the heels. And we'll take a stretch to one side. Bringing one palm to the earth, bringing the opposite palm overhead. And to the other side. And eventually coming all the way down to lay on your stomach. So elbows underneath the shoulders. Start to press the hands into the mat and reach one leg back and reach the other leg back. So again, the top half of the body is pulling in one direction, the bottom half of the body is pulling in the other direction. Eventually finding stillness, pulling the chest through the arms, pressing down into the tops of the toenails into the ground. Eventually releasing, making a pillow with your hands, relaxing your forehead on one side of the face there, and putting a bend in the knees, and letting the feet drop from one side to the other side. And eventually slowing that motion down. Take, still laying on our stomachs, take our left arm and left leg, putting a bend in that elbow and that knee while laying on our stomach. Keeping the opposite arm and leg straight. And just relaxing here. For a few breaths. And eventually beginning to straighten the left arm, straighten the left leg, and setting up for that pose on the opposite side. So bending the right knee, bending the right elbow, and drawing those towards each other. Eventually straightening the right arm and the right leg, bending our way over onto the back. And from here, taking half happy baby, so grabbing one foot or the inner part of one thigh, and allowing the opposite arm and leg to reach out long, grabbing the opposite foot or opposite thigh, eventually grab both feet, happy baby. And the feet return to the ground. I'll take the left ankle on top of the right knee. And reach around that right thigh or the right knee. Pulling the legs in towards the torso. And releasing the legs. I'll take that on the opposite side. So right ankle on top of left knee. And drawing the legs in towards your body. And eventually releasing that pose, taking a full body stretch, walking both hands and both feet over to the left side. Stretching out the right side. And then walking both hands and both feet over towards the right side. Stretching out the left side. And eventually taking any pillow or blanket or cushion you may want. And just allowing yourself a few minutes of relaxation, corpse pose, savasana. Taking a few minutes to let everything that we just did sink in. Let go of any poses we're still holding on to relax just as much as we were just now working hard. Just a few minutes to give your mind and your body and your spirit a break. Eventually getting up, finding a seated position. Taking a deep, full breath in and out. I invite you to one more time remind yourself of that wish for yourself, for others, for all beings to be happy and healthy and strong. And just take a moment to be with that feeling. And now, since we've reached the end of our practice, I'd like to say namaste. Anyone who's watching or listening, practicing along, thank you so much for joining in. You're greatly appreciated. Please feel free to leave comments or contact me directly if you have a question or something you'd like to say. And I teach this class on Thursdays. So if you enjoyed the class and if you're interested in taking it again with me, I'll be back next Thursday with some similar stuff. So thank you so much for joining me. Have a great day.